Live betting or in-play betting is a very popular but underrated type of betting. Now, many people get to win a lot of money through this method, but a lot of people don't really know about it. So on today's episode of the Betting Expert Nigeria Academy, I and Kolade and I rather, would be talking about in-play betting, live betting, and showing you how you can win from it. So first of all, Kolade, what's your experience with live betting? Do you make a lot of money from it?
Funny enough, I would say I've had a very positive experience with live betting, and that's because I've been applying several principles over the years, and I've been, following different strategies I've seen on websites like bettingexpert.com, to become better at stuff like this. So on a personal note, I would say I've actually had a lot of success. In fact, most of my wins from betting have come from live betting, and I'll be sharing my tips in this video.
Okay, me personally too, I think I've made some money from it because sometimes you just see something is about to happen. I mean, for instance, if Real Madrid are down 2-0 at home,
you just know that,
especially if it's against maybe Alaves or a team like that, you just know that, it's going to happen. I think it happened this season where Madrid were down, against Almeria at home, and then they came back, and everybody
there was some cheating in that game.
Of course, but that's not our problem.
It's not our problem.
Let's just make our money.
Sure.
But what's your strategy? How does live in play work for people who don't know anything about it?
Yeah, live in play, as the name implies, is simply just making your odds and selections when the game has already started. So depending on how you look at it, the general perspective is that it puts you at an advantage because you have already seen how the game has started and you can make a better informed decision. But then this is football. Things can change, quickly. A team can start the game on a strong foot and it seems like, I think they will win the game. And then you see a different second half and everything changes. Yeah. So, but basically it's just about live betting is basically just understanding a game, seeing how the game is playing out and just making decisions based on what has already, the trends you're already seeing in the game.
Pretty much. Is there anything you look out for specifically when you are like, what are the key things that you look at and say, okay, you know what, this is something to pay attention to? Or is it just from watching the game as it is? So
is there any particular thing I look out for? Well, I try to find the banker bets, in quotes, the what I call the valuable bets that you used to, beef up your odds, so to say. And what I've learned from experience when it comes to live betting is to always start small and build up your capital. And people just make this misconception of, live betting is a place to just go and pump in a huge amount of money and, take out money quickly. But me personally, why I like live betting is because of the timing. Yeah. If you play a game that like 30 minutes in and you place money on that game, you know that in the next 1 hour, so to say, you'll see the outcome of that game. So the thing I like to look out for is I follow the start, I see how the game is going, and I just make my decision.
Well, me personally, the general thing is that, for instance, if you look at the way games are, if you're trying to bet before a game, you see that first half over is always higher.
Yeah.
The odds are always higher than second half over because generally teams tend to score in the second half. Yeah. So what I like to do is once it's halftime, I just look, okay, it's halftime. Which games look like they're going to see goals in the second half? And then I just run everything quickly and I just put my small money, and it works. And more often than not, it works for me because second half is when teams come alive. First half, they're still trying to gauge themselves, but the second half, but most times I also like to wait a bit for like 55th minute and then see and all of that. But that's a very interesting part of the discussion. But what are the best markets, in your opinion, for live in play betting?
There are different markets to choose from, but for me personally, I actually like the under market. Under, like over or under, but I specifically like the under market. I like the double chance market, anybody to win, and sometimes I like the both no go market, meaning one team will not score. It can be a tricky one, but based on how the game is going, sometimes you see the way Man City just play against a particular side, you know that there is no hope for these guys to score. So those are my preferred markets: under, no go, anybody win, and sometimes corner kicks as well.
Yeah, you know that corner kick
Corner
part.
kick.
Oh.
That's one of my
Because
banker tricks.
if Manchester City are losing, you know, by halftime,
You know that
you
they
know
will
that
bring in Doku and the likes.
yes,
Yeah.
and definitely corners are going to just go up. And if you get in early enough, when you notice the trend, okay, these guys are losing, maybe it's still like 30th minute in the game, you get in early enough like that,
you can get a very good
odd. Because
Exactly.
the odds of it are very high. So one thing to note is that in-play betting is not for newbies. It's not for newbies. You have to already have a good knowledge of betting to be able to take advantage of it and make money. Because trust me, your first 4-5 times that you try it, you will lose money. And if you're a newbie, it will affect you because you don't. It just feels like this is pointless, right? But regardless, you should just try to understand it more. One thing that is very important to do is to pay attention to what is happening. Make sure you are watching the game that you're betting on, because if you're not watching the game and you're just betting based on stats alone, you may not be able to fully get what the trend is saying. Now, I'm going to ask you regarding that. Do you watch every game that you are betting on, like, live?
It's impossible, to be honest. It's impossible to watch all the games that you're betting on live. But what I do is I have some specific leagues and some specific teams that I look out for, basically. So if I'm checking out for live games and I see that league or I see that team playing, I already know that these guys, 8 out of 10 times that I've chosen them, they always deliver for me. I have teams with their various options that I select them for. So when you have some particular teams, some particular leagues that you have in mind, it helps you, you know, you can narrow down your tips and all. But if you just go randomly all the time based on what you're seeing, that's a strategy for failure.
It's not even a strategy in itself, to be honest.
It's just
you're just
following the vibes. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to promote is responsible betting. And in order to do that, we are saying you have to make informed decisions. That's what defines responsibility and being responsible, because you know that you are betting based on trends, based on statistics and all that. And I understand what you're saying, because if it is Manchester City, even if I'm not watching, I know that Manchester City, if they are losing 1-0, they are going to pump the opposition. That's a trend that we've known over time. So it doesn't really matter. So can you give us your favorite tips, your main tips for live in-play betting?
Under market, I think when I see you just have to put yourself in the mind of, you know, a footballer or something. When you are 3 goals up, you just feel like in the second half these guys will not really come out firing again, although it might be wrong. But most of the time when a team is maybe 3-0 up and then you see that the bookies will give them maybe high odds for over 6.5 goals, and then I back the opposite. I say, okay, they're already 3-0 up. This game, they are likely to win it. Second half, I don't see them scoring 4 goals, so I will just go with under 6.5 goals or something like that. And I also like there are some particular games that you just know that this game is set out for someone to win. They won't share the point. When you see teams like Aston Villa, Newcastle, you just know that someone would win. And I always like to go for that option as well. And there was a time I made a lot of money from backing Luton to score every single time. The odds were always high. They scored against Arsenal, scored against City, they scored against almost all the big sides. So when you notice that a particular team are showing a certain trait, you can also back them as well.
Well, my own favorite tips are never bet on emotions. Never bet with emotions, rather. Always cash out when you are not sure. All sports have live betting, but some are more suitable to it because they have diverse markets. Make sure you are watching the game you want to bet on more often than like we've already talked about that. Always keep an eye on the live match statistics. You have to use various game day apps or even Google for this. Just take note of key momentum shifts, right? And also, like he said, use the opposite betting strategy. If you bet on one market, it fails, you can quickly bet on the opposite to get your winning back. And use betting bots if you have access to them. They help you save time on placing bets, and make sure you compare odds before making your stake. Visit bettingexpert.com to compare odds from various tipsters around the world, and always cash out when you're not sure. Remember, bet responsibly. Don't bet with money that you can't afford to lose. And of course, you can always use our trusted bookie Betano. They have great markets, diverse markets, and the live in play is very responsive, because there are also some betting platforms and bookmakers rather that when you're trying to bet live, things starts to seize and then you're struggling through it, and before you know, what you're trying to bet on doesn't come up and maybe someone scores, and that just kills what you're trying to do. So it'd be nice to use Betano. You can check them out on their website and see what they're about. You can use it to test. You can test with some little money that you can afford to lose, just to play around it and see how it works, and then from there you can take off. Anyway.
Sorry, just to add to what Cerebrone has said, if you want to be better at live betting, I always advise that you have like a sheet where you record most of your options and all, so that after a period of time you can say most of the time the over market worked for me, or the both teams to score market worked for me, so you know which one to look out for and whatnot. So also you should always watch out for the timing. Sometimes the time where you place these odds are very important. I mean, if you say you want to place a bet in the 70th minute for live betting when the game is 3-0 up, you'll be getting little to nothing. So you should always be particular about your time as well. So that's it.
And that's all from us on live betting. Make sure that you bet with money that you can afford to lose,
and do not bet on Manchester United for any reason at all.
Unless you're betting that they will concede goals. That one always brings something. But anyway, thank you for joining us on the Betting Expert Nigeria Academy. Another day we'll come back and we'll tell you more about other things that you can do and how you can make your betting more deliberate and make a lot of money from it. Till then, ciao.